In this video, I'm going to show you how to actually wire your circuit. Before you start, you need to do a couple things. First off, make sure you have your circuit diagrams and that they've been approved by your city inspector. Make sure that you have all your supplies. You have your wires with the end strip. You have your lights with the end stripped. And you have electrical tape cut and ready to go. Don't want to be chasing these things down when you're trying to build. Before you actually start wiring your circuit, you need to figure out how much wire you need. So what I would do is I would poke the holes in the boxes. You can use your pencil, you can use one of the box cutters, whatever you're comfortable with. Again, make sure your hand is not underneath the hole as you're poking in a box cutter. And put your lights in the hole. So you can visualize, like I have here, one light and one light, of how far apart these lights are. So I know that I don't need a wire longer than this. Notice how they attach with a little bit of wire to spare, but not much extra. I do not need a wire like this to attach this. Okay, you can always cut wire and use bits of it, take some out. You can always add wire, but our goal is to make this as easy as possible and to use as little amount of wire as possible. So we need to kind of have a plan of how far apart our lights are going to be before we start wiring. So once I have my plan of how far apart my lights are going to be and I know whether I'm building a series or a parallel circuit, I'm going to get started. I'm going to start by building my series circuit of just one light and a battery. A couple things about your circuit diagram. Make sure you understand what each part is, so I know that this X here is my light, and I know that down here, this is my battery. Okay. Also know that, remember we said a corner means that it could be a connection. So this, if I trace it with my finger, notice I don't have to pick up my pen. This could essentially be all one wire, or I could use one wire connected to a second wire to connect it to a third wire if I wanted to and needed for the visual. But the fact that I can trace right here one connected line from here all the way down back to my battery means that essentially I only need one wire here. This circuit is one wire connected to a light, connected to another wire, connected to the battery. Okay, up here I need 3 wires. One to connect down to this light. I'm going the wrong way. Connect from the other side of the light, back up to the battery, and one to cut across. But if you need to add another wire to and think of each corner being a wire, that's fine. Just make sure we're not using a lot of extra scrap wire, and we're not having a lot of go to waste. Alright, so I have my circuit diagram. I'm going to start by making this circuit. Okay, I have my parts. I have one long wire, which is actually 2 wires attached together, and one shorter wire. Notice how all the ends are stripped. And I have my lights that I'm now going to take out of the box. Before I wire my circuit and take this all up, I'm going to make sure this light bulb works. So I'm going to grab a 9-volt battery, just right here, and I'm going to take one side of the copper and attach it to one part of the battery, and I'm going to take the other side and attach it to the other, and notice how it's bright. It looks really bright in this video, so I know that this light works. If you do this and you complete the circuit by having one part of the wire attached to one side and one part of the wire attached to the other, and it doesn't light up like this is, then you know that you have a light that does not work, and it is not a good idea to wire this into your project. So before you go any further, go get another light. Hopefully yours light up just like mine did, so we're ready to start building. Okay, I'm going to take my circuit diagram and I'm going to follow it exactly. This has, remember we said, one wire attached to a light to another wire. So I'm going to take one wire and I'm going to attach it to my light. Remember how we attach wires? We twist, making a good connection. If you don't remember how to attach wires, please go back and review that video, because a good connection is the key to your circuit working. sure I have a good tight fit. And remember, I'm connecting copper to copper. I'm not twisting the rubber together. So I need to make sure. I pull on it a little bit, see it was a little loose. I'm going to twist it a little bit more and make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, and I'm going to take my second wire and I'm going to attach it. Again, taking the two pieces of copper, putting them close together like this, making like an X, and twisting them together. Trying to get this as tight a seal as possible. Twisting it around. Make sure copper connects to copper. As tight as possible. Notice I haven't taped anything yet, because I want to make sure this works. So I have my light attached to two wires. Now I'm going to take the two ends. I'm going to do the same thing as before. Attach ends to my battery and make sure I have light. If I don't have light now, I know that one of my connections was not strong. So I need to go back and check the connection and fiddle with it. But since mine lit, I know it's good. So I'm going to take these connections to make sure that they stay put. They don't go anywhere. Pull that tape nice and tight. The tighter you pull that tape, the better seal you're going to get on your wires. Good electrical tape keeps your project together. Exactly what you want, right? Same thing here. Tape both sides. Nice and tight. Sure. Good solid connection. Not a bad idea if you want, after taping, to test your circuit. Make sure it works. Hopefully that taping didn't mess you up at all. So now I have exactly what my circuit diagram shows. I have a light connected to a battery. Test my circuit. Sure enough, it'll go up. So I have one of them done. You also have to build a circuit in parallel. Remember that in parallel, each light has its own line. Okay, I'm going to turn this basic one light circuit into a two light parallel circuit right now. There's two different ways we can do this. Okay? If I were to just lay this out, following my circuit diagram, you're going to see that I have essentially the big loop done. I have the lights coming around to a battery, and the light coming around to the battery. I need to add in here a wire connected to a light, connected to a wire, kind of cutting across the middle. There's two different ways you can do this. Okay? You can do it as in adding a wire in connection. So first I'm going to take this piece of wire, I'm going to attach these two together to make my left wire as long as my right. Like this. And all I've done is just make it longer. Okay, but before I take this up and I do the twist part, I'm going to take one wire, and attach it to these two, going across the middle. Now I'm going to have essentially 3 wires all attached together, creating a connection like this, 3-directional. And I'm going to attach my light to this. I should, before I connect, make sure that this light works. It does. So we're good to go on the connection. Okay, I need a little bit more wire, so I'm going to cut it. Strip both ends. Okay, attach the second half of the extra strip to my light. And just align it together. Now, instead of creating a triangle connection, I have here, remember I need to attach this to this to make a circuit with two separate loops. What I'm going to do, instead of cutting this and connecting all three pieces together, is I'm going to strip the middle right here. I need copper to hit copper. So I'm not going to cut it. All I'm going to do is I'm going to strip a piece right in the middle. This is the more complicated way to do this. If you are someone that's not understanding this right now, just use the method of connecting the wires together. Okay, you've got to be very careful not to cut it. You strip off just a tiny section in the middle here. Okay, just like that. See, I've not cut the wire. All I've done is taking away the insulation on the outside, right in the middle section. And then attach this by wrapping it around that. And now is the moment of truth to test. I have two lights in parallel. And there you go. Both light. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to take my connections, making sure that these connections are solid and they stay in place. And I'm now ready to assemble these lights. Circuits in the box inside the switch. Stay tuned to the next video to learn how to build switches and to attach them to your circuits.